Welcome, everybody. It has been a while. It's good to be back.
That's terrible. Oh, hi. Oh, I wasn't ready to go then. I w-
Are you ready? Hello, everybody. We are ready for episode 87, I think. No, it's hard to tell. Of PinTech Live.
I guess.
Emergency mic. Uh-oh.
Wait, hold on. Hello, everybody. Now you can hear me. We're in episode 87 of PinTech Live. We are recovering from our triple hitter shows. We did Midwest Gaming Classic, Pin Festival in Allentown, and Golden State Pinball Festival in Lodi, back to back to back. So now we're finally in the studio again with Surf Champ and Kyle. Hello, Josh Owens from Bend, Oregon.
Howdy.
We'll be sort of up in that neck of the woods in 2 weeks for the Northwest Pinball Show in Tacoma. So if anyone's in the Portland or Seattle area, you should come out to that show. It's going to be my first time going to the show. How about you, Kyle?
I'm not going to Oregon
Oh, yeah, that's right.
or Washington.
Dang, you're not going to Tacoma with us.
I've been to
Kyle
that show
needs
though.
to stay home and work on getting us parts.
I'll work on doing something, but I will not be working there. I'm kind of sick of traveling West Coast to East Coast, East Coast to West Coast. So
It's exhausting. Yeah.
I'm ready to not
sure.
go anywhere for a few months. That's totally fine. But it's a great show. Also, by the way, we are using a different microphone, so anyone in the chat should say if this sucks or if it's totally fine. We are going to need to probably move it eventually. So, but no, it's a fun show because there's nice people there. It's the same caliber of people that are in Northern California, so they're all very kind and generally of good demeanor. So.
It sounds amazing. Oh, you sound amazing, Kyle.
It probably sounds
Maybe
better
this should
than.
be your new setup.
Yeah,
Well, but then you move around a lot, so you need the lav mic. When
that's
you do
the
move
only
around.
problem. Yeah, but I do feel like I'm like on the radio again. Speaking into the
You
microphone,
are on the...
like pinball radio. I was considering doing a talk show just because we don't have all of our equipment. We only have like a couple cameras. I don't have all my cables, so we couldn't do microphones, and I forgot we had this, so I like ran around and we made it work.
We made it work. We missed y'all. We wanted to see everybody. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Wild Man, thank you for the resubscribe.
Thank you.
13 months.
That's
Man.
fantastic.
It's crazy. We've been
We
doing
will-
this for so long.
We will make sure that I will make sure that we stream more consistently now. Emoto probably won't be here for you're going to Washington, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'd like to set up. We should do it since you're gonna be in the studio. I can do the Zoom crossover thing, like what we did at Expo last year, where I just kind of showed you guys around
Yeah, that's
while you
great.
were in the studio. We just cut to my screen,
That would be
so
awesome.
we could do that during setup.
Yeah, for sure.
Although setup, I think I'm gonna be setting up games in Northwest. We have a small crew. We have 2 new people that haven't been to shows with us that we're bringing out. We have a nice big team now in Marco, so we're trying to get everyone out into the field to meet the pinball community. So there's training. And we don't have Kyle, so I can't be like, go set up the games and walk away, and then 40 games are just magically set up when Kyle's there. Now it's going to be like, here's my wrench.
Yep, it's time to
I'm setting up games.
time to not manage, time to do, unfortunately. Oh well.
Yay, Pinball Gramps, it's so good to see you. See, Kyle's here.
I am here. I still exist. Hey, Manu.
Misses Kyle already.
Yeah, me too. I was just getting sad with Emoto about how much I miss the Bay Area.
Oh,
Like I told you
no.
yesterday.
The Bay Area pinball community is top notch.
Yeah, but I
Sure.
miss you too. I'm sad I didn't get to catch the finals because I was on an airplane. But maybe next time I come out, there'll be some San Francisco pinball department action I can catch live. But yeah, I'm still exhausted from traveling, so we'll see what kind of work we get done on Surf Champ. It's been a while since.
Yeah, what do you need to do?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've worked on it, but I think I'm on the home stretch. I think I got to get some plastics on this thing, and it's clean, it's rubbered. I need to verify everything is working still. New flippers and bats. I think we'll do that today. But I would like to finish cleaning this up so I can get it back to the customer, so I can get paid, and so it's also not in here anymore. I want to get rid of it. So, yeah.
And then we got to start a new project. Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always something to finish on a bunch of games. I think I have to start finishing projects. I think my friend Josh is going to come and help me, and we're going to finish working on my hotline. We're going to at least finish all the woodworking. Nice. After all the woodworking I've done on that. Vector needs a ton of work, but that's something that's kind of back on the priority list. Baywatch does not need a ton of work. Well, it does need a ton of work, but it doesn't need anything mega crazy.
It needs a color DMD install.
Well, actually, when I was in California, I bought a working DMD for it. So now I have...
Oh, but not color?
Not color. But now I have 3 DMDs for it, and one of them ought to work. So we'll see.
I mean, that could be a fun episode of just trying to service it and...
Yeah, well, that's what I need to get going, and then I think it's a disassemble, make sure nothing is super screwed up, figure out what's missing, and then put it all back together somehow. But that's thankfully not a crazy
Pin Daddy,
project.
subscribe for 18 months. Thank you, Pin Daddy.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I'm being a capitalist. I want to get out of here, get paid, and move on. It's been too long. I've had it in the shop for too long. I've been traveling too much and not finishing a very easy project. So,
Hey, Craig. Yeah, sorry we weren't physically there for Allentown, but glad you got to meet Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
AKA Midge, our moderator for the show. He's been gone for a while too. He leads our procurement department, and we've been procuring a lot of pinball parts lately, so he hasn't been able to come play on this show, but
yeah,
hopefully he'll come back.
Pinball Gramps is a CPA. He understands. Yeah, Steve
Oh.
is the boss now, so Steve has to boss people around. So that's why when I'm gone, he's there, and it wouldn't ever work the other way around. So hopefully he'll be able to come back on the show one day. Maybe if we actually get to episode 100, maybe we'll have Steve come on again.
Oh, yeah.
Anywho, yeah, so I know I have to do a little bit of soldering. We don't have all the great camera equipment today, but I guess we could start fiddling with the game a teeny bit. Well, actually, no, let's keep talking about the fun stuff we've done, because we've been away for a while, right? Like, the Golden State show was really fun. There's a lot of interesting games. The show up at that show is always really great. People bring just such a fun smorgasbord of games.
What's up?
Hey.
Yeah, I like the Golden State show much like its predecessor.
Pinagogo.
Is that the right term?
Well,
Pinagogo.
even though Pinagogo still
Pinagogo
exists.
still exists, right? But either way, well, the point is there's like camping involved. It's at a fairground, so it's in like giant buildings, kind of spread out. But then there's a whole camping section, and people bring their RVs and campsites. So after the show halls close, the party continues late night out in the campgrounds, which is really awesome because a lot of people brought pinball machines specifically for the campgrounds. And so we got to play in a Boys Night Out tournament. Boys Night Out is Joel Kaiser's custom game that he made. It's like TNA's little sister. And there's a big tournament for that out in the campgrounds, which was really fun and very exciting. I got a lot of footage of that and hope to edit it into a nice little recap at some point. And then there was another camp that had 2 Metallicas side by side, and it was like a race. So you had 4 people on your team, on each team, and the team to last the longest wins, and you get the other team out by hitting the fuel, that side fuel shot behind the fuel spot targets, the piston shot where it's like vroom, and anytime you hit that shot, it tilted out the other Metallica game. So it was like a race to tilt out the other team faster.
That was so
and
cool.
That was definitely adrenaline pumping.
It was so cool.
And yeah.
And then there was
a Lord of the Rings out there that I got to play for like an hour all by myself in the middle of the night.
Yeah, at the Camp
and
Cade.
it was like the best thing ever.
The Camp Cade always has a great setting of games, you know? There was a flipper football.
They did a huge stall ball tournament with like 40 people in it.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Yeah, Mike's stall ball tournament's always fun. It's a great show with a bunch of great folks.
Nice. Hey, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie. Oh, glamping
Hello from
gear.
1984 Branson. Yeah.
Hey.
I am headed to 1984 Branson tomorrow night because my flight lands back in Springfield at 8. And I should actually be going to 1984 Springfield, but Branson is closer to my house. So I'm going to go down to Branson and meet my family and say hi to everyone there. So, Hobbits, if you're around tomorrow night, we can flip.
How far away
Yay.
is Branson and Springfield from each other?
About 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Ish. And then 30 minutes more south, you'll get to my town, which is Harrison, Arkansas.
Good old Harrison. Okay, nice. That's going to be fun. Lucky you.
Yeah, it'll be nice. Leaving pinball to go to more pinball is just kind of, my MO.
Yeah. Always. All the time.
All of ours.
Yeah.
All of ours.
It is. I'm trying to think,
Can't get away from it.
some of the highlights of that, the Golden State show, game-wise. There was our friend of the show, friend of my actual real life, Mike Huntsman, brought the Biggest Little Arcade in Reno, Nevada. He had brought his Gottlieb Going Nuts, which is a really interesting game.
Oh yeah, that game looks awesome.
Yeah. So it was owned.
It's golf.
It was owned by Steve Sharland, which is a really nice guy that taught me a lot when I was young. But they only made, supposedly they made 10 of those games, and it was on the line. And then Gottlieb got bought by Millstar, and apparently it just got put down, done, and they never made any more. And so it's a really rare game. People know where about 6 are still nowadays, and it's really strange. Where I'm going with this, though, was that looking at serial numbers and stuff, Mike's serial number on his game is 10. It's canonically 10. Or 9. It's number 9. And
What's up, transmission?
so theoretically, if those last 4 were missing, because I think the serial numbers still known are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then his is 9. If those other ones are potentially gone, that could technically be the last Gottlieb pinball machine ever made before they changed their name, which was it's kind of a funny thing to think about. But Going Nuts is a fun game. It's a timed game. It might be the best timed game made, considering that Beat the Clock sucks a lot. And this game is okay. Travel Time is okay too, but this is a good one. It starts off is a 3-ball multi-ball, and the goal of Going Nuts is to hit drop targets, which are all over the playfield, to try and raise your single ball timer. So you'll have 3 balls to just go crazy, hit all the targets you can, but as soon as you drain down to 1 ball, that single ball time, which you just earned through your multi-ball, starts counting down. And then during your single ball time, you either can hit this captive ball up in the top or make 2 reflex shots to like hit a target to light another shot to restart the multi-ball, which you can then start over again. And it's really fun. It's a really interesting timed game.
The theme, I remember, I took pictures of it because my friend has a lot of pet squirrels in LA, and it has all the squirrels and stuff. What's the actual theme? Because I was like, is it a golf theme?
No.
Like No Good Gophers?
No.
That's the Caddyshack golf theme.
Yeah,
it was just squirrels? It's
just squirrels. It's called Goin' Nuts, and it's like a bunch of squirrels holding colored walnuts, which look like the colored drop targets on the actual game. So.
Did I get the baby Pac-Man info? Kyle, I found a lead to a baby Pac-Man.
Really? Where?
Since you won't sell me yours.
No, never. But where?
In the Bay Area.
Oh, heck yeah.
No, I have not gotten the lead officially from that. But Matt Talley, one of the owners of Lynn's Arcade, says he knows a guy.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
I think it was Phil's, but I'm not sure. So.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. Transmission Arcade said every animal deserves its own game. Yeah, where's our Echo the Dolphin pinball machine? That's what we're really missing. Joel, if you could make one, please.
You should make that.
Joel will email me.
Then get that. Well, I guess it's another Sega game, so just make it and then get hired by American Pinball.
Yeah, that's my pathway in life to become the next pinball designer.
Hey, I'm totally fine to be Sea Slug the pinball machine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That sounds great.
Sea Slug would be great.
New to bronze mode. Anyways, yeah, that's cool, man. I hope you get it. That would be wonderful. But it was a fun show. There's a lot of fun games. There's a gorgeous Barracuda. I got to play Gottlieb Counterforce again, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah, we need a Shamu. Man, I remember Shamu. I got to meet Shamu.
Really?
Shamu was in the SeaWorld in South LA, right? Or in
San Diego.
Southern California. San Diego, yeah, whatever.
I think I got to see Shamu also when I was a kid, but I don't remember if that was like right when they...
Is Shamu still alive?
No. Wait. Someone double check, but I don't think so. But I also think that SeaWorld does not keep large mammals anymore, thankfully.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty
effed
up.
Good.
Anyways, yeah.
Devious Dr. Doom, I don't know about your Wheel of Fortune code.
Oh gosh,
Someone
I wish.
last weekend was talking about that too. Like Brian O'Neill or someone was
It's a
talking
great
about
game.
needing the Wheel of Fortune code.
It's a great game. It just never got finished. Go find Lonnie Ropp and tell him you really, 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 really want Wheel of Fortune to be finished, and then he'll laugh at you, and then you'll be done. That's all. Wheel of Fortune's a great game. That's it's definitely one of my favorites.
Shamu died in
71.
Oh, then I definitely did not see Shamu.
Oh,
Who did
really? I
shoot?
thought Shamu was around in the 90s.
No, yeah, come on. What internet site did you look up?
Yeah, hold on. Please fact check this. Anyways.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Shamu weighed 1,984 pounds. Maybe we met Shamu's child.
Shamu the 17th.
Oh, that's so sad.
Oh, man.
Wow, there's a lot of conspiracy theories around Shamu. Anyway.
That does not surprise me, but now I need to look at them
Maybe
all.
not the best pinball theme.
No, probably not. But maybe it is. Maybe the conspiracy is a good thing. What else did we do? We went to the MGC was a fun show too.
Yep, up in
MGC
Wisconsin.
was great. There was we had a fun group of games. There was a good, awesome group of people that came out. Our dealer partner, the guys and girls at Kingpin Games brought an incredible assortment of coin-operated stuff.
Everything you could ever want. they brought.
Yeah, we got to play
And
the
we brought the Stern gates.
Raw Thrills Nitro trucks. That was
Hey,
really
Ty.
fun. It was
Mr. Loaf.
Team Stern Marco versus Team Spooky, and there is something to be said about
Y'all got smoked.
we got smoked.
I wasn't there, so
No, we got smoked. I think I
They
won
played
one
without
out
me.
of like 6 races, but Team Deer Hunting Dirt Road Spooky Pinball destroyed us, so I bowed down to them. And then what else did he brought the gigantic puzzle bobble, which was really fun.
yes.
I would
yeah.
really, really like to put that into my house. And then, yeah, we had all sorts of Mandalorians, rushes.
Nice.
We had some Godzillas. What else
Nice,
did we
Dr.
have at MGC?
Mando, and we had Randy Martinez, the artist of Mandalorian and Star Wars comic, at our booth, wheeling and dealing and shaking hands, kissing babies, which was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Sup, friend of the show, Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf.
Why did you say it like that? Like it's been so long since you said his name.
I just need to say all the names fully now. So let's
Well,
see.
Ice Skidoo wants to know if you found a gate that will fit his ramp mod on Stranger Things LE.
No, I think we were still emailing about that, and I have a feeling. I think that I was the last one to email you. So I don't remember what I said, but this was also like a month ago. So please bring that email thread back up, and I would like to continue helping you with that.
All right, Kyle, I'm going to drop off for a little bit, but I'll be back during the show.
Okay, cool.
So,
Now it's
y'all
my
have
show.
fun.
We can do whatever we want. We're gonna start swearing and doing
I'm
drugs.
going to
and
watch it on my phone.
Yeah.
I'll be in the chat.
Okay.
I'll see you guys in a bit.
Yeah, let's start fiddling with games. I mean, we've been doing this for a little bit. I don't think I have too much to do on this, but just like the hasty setup that we kind of put together. What happened? Sorry, Emoto is doing a little bit of.
Oh, no, I just muted you instead of me.
Oh, am I unmuted? Let's see. Yes, I am unmuted. Can y'all still hear me? Am I all good? Y'all said it's the adult tour. It's not for kids. It isn't for kids, but we have to be family friendly right now. So thank you, son, for listening to me. Anyways, yeah, I'm mostly exhausted. So I really tried hard to get Emoto to not make me work on games today, but that is basically the reason y'all come here instead of listening to me talk about traveling all over the place and being tired for it. So we should get to work a little bit. I have some pop bumper leads to solder on. I have this small camera, which can kind of get in close, but I'm not going to be able to get good angles of me actually doing work. So I pre-apologize for that. But, you know, we've all soldered, right? We can just do a little bit of work here. The other things I think I'm going to do today is probably change out the flipper bats. I have new caps. I bought a bunch of them because I always order way more stuff than I'd ever need. But, yeah, you know. Gottlieb used a metal shaft flipper that then had a plastic cap that could be put on top. The shafts last for almost forever, and the actual flipper bats themselves do not last forever. So it's a perfect ratio of wearing out and breaking. Oh, look at Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf really wants to see that. Well, you know what? Heck with it. Let's just start there because I don't feel like soldering anyways. Let me go finagle with the cameras really quick and see if I can get them where I want them to be. Can I do this one? Yeah, that's that. And then this one, I can do that one off? Yeah, something like that. Okay. Hold on 1 second. I'm just checking something on my phone here because I got a semi-urgent text messages. Okay. Nothing to worry about. All right. So let's see if I remember how to do this. I think it's either a flathead screw or 1/4 inch nut driver. But what we have to do is we have to loosen the flipper and the actual crank itself. So oh man. Transmission Arcade is talking about some delicious smoked meatloaf sandwich that I'd really like. Ice-Ski-Doo, I don't believe, there are no molded flippers that will work in this assembly. Gottlieb never used a fully molded flipper in this era. So these late 70s through the 1980s flippers are a two-piece design. And honestly, I kind of like it that way. I don't know why. It's just, there's something nice about, I mean, they're just really high quality. Look at this thing. Look at that flipper bat shaft. It's very sturdy. There's no chance of this ever getting bent and then causing some weird binding in your flipper. It's held in with a flathead screw on the bottom here. Oh, yeah, could y'all hear me when I walked away? Sorry. Yeah, see, I'm forgetting about what's going on here without my lav mic, so my bad. I'll try to keep that in mind for the next 1 hour and 45 minutes. The old Gottlieb games are built like tanks. They don't really wear out. It's a 1/4 inch, it's a 1/4 inch nut driver to remove the set screws in the crank, or a flathead screwdriver. These things are really, 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 really tough. They do not wear out. The problem you'll find with these things is that the actual thick part of the shaft and the actual, they call these a shaft and shoe, and a lot of the time the shoe will break off the shaft. But that's kind of the #1 thing that will cause problem. To get these things off, I generally start at the small side and just kind of stick a screwdriver in between, and then kind of, sorry, let me adjust the camera so you're not just looking at my shirt. Maybe I need a smaller screwdriver to do this, but I'll kind of get in here and get the screwdriver under the shoe and then lift up on the flipper. Kind of do that on the back side also. Again, you don't really need to worry about the cosmetics of your old flipper because this thing's getting thrown away anyways. Now it's off. You have a gorgeous shaft and shoe. Now we can take one of these nice bats. You got a centering pin. It's not really a centering pin, but it's just a pin. Then you got holes inside the flipper. Snap it in place. And screw it in. Now you have a nice, bright, clean, white flipper bat instead of one that's, this one's not that bad. Oh geez. Hold, let me mess with the exposure really quick on that camera, just because it looks like doo-doo. Center view. Is it this one? Yeah. Sorry, hold on, y'all. Alright, since I don't, sorry about that. Since I don't have an Emoto here to work all the wonderful cameras and stuff like that, now it's a little easier to see all this. These flippers really aren't that bad. The old one is in my hand here, but I'm cheap, but I'm not that cheap. Let's just replace it. These things don't cost much, and they really, really do make the games look a lot better when you have nice, clean plastic bits in the game. Now let me check up with the chat here. Yeah, the little plastic lips do make it a little hard, but just pry it off like I did. I tried to make things look easy. Emoto says I have a nice shaft. Thank you. It is pretty nice. It's a little sticky, so I should wipe it off before I put it back in the assembly. Okay, Emoto did respond to the Shoopy thing. That's super cool. Emoto on ESPN2. That's kind of my dream, to be on ESPN. No, just kidding. Good. You'll enjoy rebuilding your Flipper's worthwhile Panda. Williams games can be, depending on age, Williams games are actually kind of a pain in the butt to rebuild the Flippers on. When you compare it to a Stern game, they're a little bit more intricate, but it's still quite easy of a job, and you'll feel very good and see some immediate results. Daniel, hello? Where can you find an Emoto? I think you have her number. You can just call her. Ah, yeah, let me, I'll make sure I get on that, Manu. I'm sorry, I forgot yesterday. 70s EM. Oh, okay, yeah, that's actually not a very hard flipper to rebuild. I'll tell you the most important thing, though, is just pay attention to your end of stroke switches and make sure they open and close when they're supposed to. That's a very important bit on those electromechanical games. Okay, so I'm going to try to move this microphone closer to the game, but let me see. If I talk like this, you can still hear me. But if I talk away, okay. So I just need to turn around when I talk. All right, hold on. There's talking going on. I got to respond to some of this. At the end of the show, I'd love to bug you about my shadow. I hate that game. You can't bug me about it. I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we'll do that. We'll spend an extended Q&A because I feel like talking more than I feel like doing today. Dent0123. On my Stern machine, every time I work on the Flipper mechs, the set screw on the Flipper bat is either stuck or stripped out and requires a lot of work. It is a pain. I can't tell you why that is happening. I'm assuming, you're obviously using the correct size tools to work that screw. There's no reason it should be that way. The flipper set screws onto the shaft. The flipper shaft set screws are very, very, very important. They do need to be tight. If they are not tight, the flipper will start to drift, and that's when you'll get games with, wonky aligned flippers, etc. Yeah, it's an Allen cap head screw. But what I would say is maybe try not cranking down them nearly as He-Man strength, and see what happens. Is the flipper bat stuck in place, or does the actual screw get stuck in place? Because those could be two separate issues as well. Anywho, I'm going to get to just putting this guy in really quick, so I'll be right back. Let me tilt this camera up. You can watch me from a strange angle and also appreciate the kind of nasty drop ceilings we have in here. Oh, you know what? There's dirt. I don't like dirt, so I'm going to get under here and just wipe off the schmutz that sits under the flipper bat. That'll make me happy. All right. Unlike Williams and Stern pinball games, the bushings on the Gottlieb game are actually attached to the flipper mech themselves, and they are not, they don't poke through the playfield. So you can see, hopefully, you've got your top bushing there against the playfield, and it attaches to the flipper base plate, and then you've got your bottom flipper bushing there. So the flipper bushing itself does not protrude through the playfield like a traditional game would. These flippers, that makes these indestructible. These Gottlieb flippers of this era are possibly the greatest flipper of all time. They require very little work to keep working. Their parts do not wear out. Honestly, I do not rebuild these flippers almost every time. They just don't need to be rebuilt. They wear so slowly. That being said, there are plenty that I have had to rebuild because they do wear out, but for the most part, these do not need to be rebuilt nearly as often as their other flippers of their era, or even now. These flippers are also quite easy to set. They don't have, I realize I'm talking away from the mic. Hold on. Those flippers, let me kind of restate what I said just in case it didn't come through good. These flippers very rarely need to be rebuilt just because of how sturdy they are. They do not wear out as quickly as other contemporary flippers or flippers from their age. These things are just super overbuilt. But I don't usually rebuild them. I've had to rebuild them in the past, obviously, but for the most part, on these games, you just take them apart, put them back together. So if I could build the most reliable pinball machine that I would never need to service, just go set on location, and all I would have to do would be to empty the coins, the flippers would absolutely be these Gottlieb flippers of this era. They just do not wear out. They're very overbuilt. The bushings don't require any sort of very, minute adjustment like the Williams ones do, or the Stern, we're talking modern day Stern and Williams, or even from back then, right? Setting that gap between the flipper bushing and the flipper crank. You don't need to do that on these things. It's just, there's a lot, they're easy. Also, one thing I'll show you when I pull off the next one, they're very easy to align as well. On these games that are pushing, almost 50 years old, you can see a difference, a huge color difference between where the flipper normally sits and the rest of the game. It's a lot lighter. They're really easy to line up. And the set screws that dig into the shaft make divots into them, so when you're reinstalling the set screws into them, they will just slide right back into those old divots, and it makes it easy to line them up. I'll give a tip on what you need to do if you don't want them to line up there, though, when I take the next one out. Let me show you what I mean by set screw, divots, etc. See the skinny part of the shaft right here where there's a turn down bit? Let me see if I can get it to focus at all. Might be hard to see. You see that circle there, and then that other circle right in front, it just went out of focus? Those are the divots for the set screw, and you really wouldn't think that that would cause that big of a deal, but the screws always want to go back to this point if they are close by. So let's say, sorry, hold on, let me also catch up with the chat. Hello, Pinball Rob. I think Emoto helped Worthwhile Panda out there. I think we've gone over some flipper stuff on... Look for some videos on Time Warp. The flippers on Time Warp are pretty similar to most of the 70s flippers. So I don't think we actually rebuilt them, but I think we may have taken them out. So they're pretty similar. So let me get back to this. Sometimes maybe you want to change the angle of these flippers, but when you put them back together, you'll notice that, the screws are always going back to those set points. And even when I tighten them down, off of those, divots in the flipper shaft, they always find their way back when it starts to inevitably rotate. Two things you can do. Swap the left and the right shaft. If you swap the left and the right shaft, the divots will be like 90 degrees opposite of each other, so you'll solve the problem like that. Or you could try to hit them with some emery cloth or a very light file and try to just get that divot out just a teeny bit to try to make it so they don't want to drift back into this spot. But I would recommend swapping the left and right side if you do need to change the angle. But you shouldn't have to. They're generally set up from the factory just right, and the angle you should be going for is no hop on the transition from the ball guide to the flipper anyways. So unless you're doing something crazy, yeah. All right, so let's get our screwdriver here. Get that guy out, and then we'll do the same thing where we get our screwdriver and try to pry it off the lip. I like to start at the skinny side, come up and give it a bit of a twist. Ooh. Hold it out of place, move it down to the back, try to pop that next lip off, out and under. Nope. This one doesn't want to go as easy as the last one did. We'll try the opposite side, see what happens. There we go. All right. Now we have separated our bat from the shaft and shoe. Again, when you hear that term, you've got your shoe here, the shaft is here. Save these, give them to artists, let them make art and do fun things with them. Maybe that's just my justification for the fact that I hoard everything, but you know. All right. I hate the ball hop on machines just before the ball rolls onto the flipper bat. Yeah, everybody does. It is our job as people who take pinball games apart to try to fix that. It is the worst thing. I'm going to go throw this back in the game. Is this one going to be dirty underneath? No, it's actually clean. You can kind of feel it when you are tightening these down. They'll fall into that divot I keep talking about. I felt it kind of clacked in there. Nice. All right, I'm satisfied. Guess I can fire up the soldering iron and do 2 quick little reattachments of some wires for the pop bumper and screw that back together, and then we can kind of see what we've going on up top, and I can show you what kind of a difference like the nice white new posts and new plastic bits kind of get you when you're doing this kind of work. Thank you for the Galloping Ghost shirt cred. I really love this shirt, and the Galloping Ghost is such a rad arcade. Y'all are so lucky to have that in Illinois. Great pinball selection too at the place right down the street with some good oddball games, and a couple other ones that you would not want to miss. So what do we have going on here? We had let me rotate the microphone a little more this way so y'all can hear me still. I installed wedge-based pop bumper sockets into this game to avoid the stamped metal ones that are such a pain in the butt. These ones, the pop bumper lights will not go out nearly as often. The big downside is on bally pop bumper bodies, sometimes you have to put them in at an angle like this to get the LED cap from hitting the actual pop bumper cap. The Gottlieb games have a little bit more room in their pop bumper bodies, so yeah. Anywho, soldering iron, that's what I'm looking for. Man, my brain is off. I had a small coffee today, and that was absolutely a mistake. Here, you can have, let's do a little bit of getting to know Kyle. Kyle is addicted to coffee. Ugh. It has gotten to a point now where it is required. I feel like I need to not live so close to a coffee shop because it is starting to have effects on my daily life. Ugh. Also getting to know Kyle. I really, really, really like pinball. I like fixing them more than I like playing them, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Alright. Soldered one side to the GI bus, and the other one is a signal wire. So let's see, I need some cutters, some strippers. I'll get this guy wired in. We've done this before. We've used these sockets on multiple occasions. I really like them because they're easy to install. They're not so easy to uninstall, but thankfully pop bumpers have a pretty long service life. Once we do the work on the front end, they generally don't need to come apart very often. So I guess they're not any harder or easier to uninstall than the stamped metal ones, but I don't know, it just makes it so much easier. And I hate it when pop bumper lights go out when the pop bumpers are firing. Yeah, you can use a brand new metal socket, sure, but they also have a high failure rate where these ones just don't fail as often. Join these wires together. It's not perfect. I'm going to redo that. Sorry, I can't see the chat. Actually, I should put some new solder on this old connection here. Burning my fingers, but for a good cause. Okay. Let's get this solder out of the way. Turn the iron off, because if I did my job right, we won't need it again. That's good. All right. I'll bury this semi-exposed connection underneath the wiring harness. This is an acceptable, okay-ish time to use some electrical tape or some heat shrink. I might use some tape and then shove it underneath the loom. That way it won't move. That'll be okay. I need to figure out where all of the screws went. I need a couple nuts and a couple screws. They're probably on the towel here. All right, what'd I miss? Moto doesn't get royalties. Oh, man. Pernicious. It was good chatting at Golden State. It's nice to meet all of the people who sit and watch this show, and I appreciate all of you. Lavernius James. Oh, look, all sorts of people. I feel bad because I need to do a better job of asking everybody what their online moniker is, because at this point now, it's getting hard to keep track. But please let it be known that I do appreciate all of you, and I'm sorry for how awkward I am actually in real life, as opposed to on camera. So, all right, now we get to play the game of where are all the screws for this game. I did not get to move this game. Something happened in this building yesterday. I was not here, so I'm gonna blame losing all this stuff on other people until I find it. That being said, I probably wouldn't have put it somewhere really dumb. Actually, this is me I'm talking about. They're probably somewhere really dumb. Okay, there's the nuts. Now I need 3 sheet metal screws with a flat head on them. The F-16s from the airport are flying over currently, so if you can hear them, that's cool. If not, just think I'm crazy. Hello, Aniston. How are you? Online moniker being like your screen name. Sorry. Let me use, I'll use the proper term. I need to ask everyone their screen name so I can start putting faces to names. I am not very good with names, but I'm really good at I'm good at remembering faces. So if I ever talk to you and I never say your name in conversation, that's probably because I've forgotten your name, but I remember what you look like. So, yeah, getting to know Kyle. Here, we'll do some more. What are these? Not the screw I need. Oh, man. Well, it's my fault for not securing the game when I knew I was going to be away if these screws do end up being lost. But now you get to watch some really engrossing content, just like the sanding episode we had. Everyone seemed to really like that one, though. I'm a bad influence. I know. Definitely a bad influence on all of you. I'm inspiring all of you. I'm teaching all of you how to work on your own games. What's in here? Now I feel like I need to call Steve. Like, yo, did you move this? They have to be. Oh, wait. I'm a big old dummy. Okay, I found them. They were underneath my pliers. Okay, so I'm gonna reassemble these pop bumpers and then we'll sit down and chit chat a little bit. The pop bumper yokes on these Gottlieb games do not break like the Williams ones do. The Williams ones are always broken. These ones do not. In fact, most of the time I recommend people upgrade to these Gottlieb ones because they do not ever break. The yoke is this bit, right, that attaches to the plunger, and it pulls the rod and ring down. They're very tough. So, anywho, we'll install this. Make sure I get the rod and ring through the yoke. Gottlieb games, you need to make sure you get the yoke underneath the scoring switch instead of pushing it down and misadjusting it. What is Kyle's moniker? I'm not telling you. I need some anonymity online somehow. Nah, just kidding. Most of the time it's Black Cat Pinball. That's what it's been for a while. But that's the only one I'll tell you. Right. Remember when tightening down rod and rings to use care, when especially if they're old, but even when they're new, you can put a lot of torque on the actual shaft of the rod part of the rod and ring, And you can snap the threaded portion off, rendering it absolutely useless. And we don't want to do that. Get them nice and snug, that's all. Remember, we're using elastic stop nuts on these things. Elastic stop nuts do not back out, so they don't need to be mega, mega tight. And since we put new wires in, we got to make sure that we're not pinching or putting the wires in a precarious position around moving parts. This one kind of is, so I'm going to move this one up and around, and that gets it away from the rod and rings movement. I'm going to secure this. Kind of get one of each screw in and then get it nice and tight, but all right. Don't drop that. Bad, Kyle. Come on. Oh, gosh, starting flathead screws is such a pain in the butt. All right. That guy in. Twist it through. Come on. Come on. Should be using my wider flathead screwdriver just so they don't slip out of the slotted bit as easy. I like to use the original hardware when I can. As much as I hate the flathead screws, that's what Gottlieb wanted to use. Those engineers are smarter than me. All right, I will now, for now, I will just kind of tuck this away into a conspicuous location, but also away from anything it could short on before I do put some tape around it. And let's look at the game. Actually, let's look at the chat. See if any of you guys have been saying anything. That is true. That is not the correct way to use screws. The game is currently looking kind of shiny, quite clean. Sorry for the headache. But yeah, new flipper bats, new posts. Not all new posts. I have to replace the ones in the center still. But I do have them. I just need to install them. I also need to get another spinner. I think I have a blank Bally spinner that I'm going to replace this with, and I'll save this one maybe for, I think this is, I don't know if it's for Harlem Globetrotters or not. But it is the incorrect spinner. So I can put a blank spinner and apply a decal. That's kind of the best thing you can get. That's the best thing you can get when the original spinners are missing or damaged beyond repair, unfortunately. These were screened on there. They never used a decal from the factory, but you had screened artwork on them. There are some used posts. Generally, you can get another 40 years out of using some of those crummy posts and hiding them in places. Did using those 5 posts save me a total of like $1.80? Yeah, sure, but you know, you put all the new posts where everything is super visible, and then the game looks great. New pop bumper bodies. I put new Mylar appliques here. They're not adhesive because that is what Gottlieb used back in the day, and I'm trying to be as faithful to that as I can. But yeah, it's not so bad. it's actually turning out quite nice, and I think the customer will be very happy to get it back eventually. All right, let's switch cameras around for a minute so I can do more talking instead of showing that. That. All right. Are the plastics broken that were removed? Yeah, some of them were, but they also look very old when you put them on top of a nice clean game. So this is one of the plastics in the top right screen right now. The top portion is missing. It's a real commonly broken one on this game. But these are available new still, and they'll look very fresh and clean. When you put these sort of when you put plastics like this onto the older games, they do look a little dingy. The pop bumpers especially, look, someone went nice in arts and crafts on the pop bumper body when the original blue found its way off the plastic. So replacing those little things do make quite a big difference. I do not have LEDs to put in the caps right now, but I do have the matching star pop bumper caps. I bought 2 extra just because you never know when you're going to need them, but these ones are kind of neat. The multicolored stars. So I can install those, and then the game will be extra fresh. Rebuilding the pop bumpers is actually not that much work. It's one of the most involved jobs on a lot of games. Games will have unique things to them, and when I say unique things, like we'll think about a game like The Shadow, right? On that game, there's a bunch of drop targets in the back, and there's this unique kicker assembly on the battlefield. That's what that assembly is called, and that's a unique assembly. And generally, they are a pain in the butt. But this is a standard thing, right? Like almost every game has a pop bumper, and they are a pain in the butt, and they exist on every game. Bally and Stern and Data East tried to mitigate that a bit. I mean, Stern did not. Data East did back in the day by putting the entire pop bumper assembly on a plastic platter. So you'll see some games where you just have to lose your microphone that was not tightened to the table well enough whatsoever. Use a Fathom Pop Cat for some Kraken theming. That's quite funny. You'll find some older games that used a sorry. That's better. You'll find some older games that 90s games that had a pop bumper assembly on plastic, and that would allow you to drop the entire assembly, body and cap included, off of the game by only loosening like 4 screws. They were really neat, but they definitely do break after many years of usage and heat and plastic just becoming brittle with age. You'll find that they do snap, which is kind of problematic. But thankfully you can get them new again, which is nice, but yeah. Translucent pop bumper bodies. Those are always fun. They spread a lot of light. Yeah, I should be tightening the microphone more, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think the next things to do on this game, I'm going to run a mixture of incandescent lights and LEDs in this game to brighten it up, but also to keep that nice, warm, incandescent feel. I always only use warm white LEDs to keep that warm feel. I feel that it belongs there. That's my opinion. But on the EMs, I definitely don't mind running incandescents also. I will need to do a full checkup underneath to make sure all the feature lights are working. But in the back box, there'll be a mixture of LEDs and incandescents, yeah. One thing about the back box that I find important is to lower the temperature. When you have a bunch of those incandescent bulbs in there, they get very hot. And with this back glass, which is in very, 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 very nice shape, considering it's a 40-something-year-old game, I want to make sure it stays that way. Now, again, when these games were new, they were sitting in commercial locations for over 10 hours a day, being powered on, getting really hot. And nowadays, they're going to sit in someone's living room or garage, and they will be on for 1 hour a month. But still, it's nice to, just reduce the heat that's there, to try to keep them nicer as everything else degrades around it. Yes, warm white LEDs and incandescents do look okay together. You're not going to be able to tell how okay they look because cameras don't do a very good job of capturing these colors, but most of my games have a mixture of both. Yeah, the camera's not going to be able to pick up on this at all. Didn't kick the ball out. Oh, maybe it already thought it did. Anywho. Yeah, you're not going to be able to tell whatsoever. It's kind of pointless. But they do look okay together because the LEDs that I use are, they match the color temperature as best as possible of the incandescent bulbs. I can see here, now that I've put a bunch of bulbs into this game, without turning it on, that I do have some dirty lamp sockets. This one here will probably brighten up if I clean the socket, and that's a pain because that one's kind of hard to get to, but I'll need to do it. We want to make sure that the game is well lit for the customer. The lamp sockets on these Gottlieb games are generally just dirty. They don't go bad. They're not like awful like the lamp sockets in the Bally games from the 80s. Those lamp sockets are really, really awful. These ones generally just need a little bit of cleaning. Yeah, I'm sure that there is legislation to keep incandescent light bulbs from being the norm, but I don't think that spreads to this industry so much. I'm pretty sure, I can imagine that legislation is not, you can't make these anymore, but they can't be used in new construction or something like that, or maybe certain styles of bulbs need to be LEDs at this point, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me see. This is a new light, so it just has a really dirty socket. Let me clean this one just because I'm looking at it right now. We always use our socket cleaning stick. These things are great. They get in there and remove some of the crud from the plunger in the socket of the light socket. Stick it into the socket and spin it in circles. Clean out all the crud. Then hopefully when I insert this light, it's a lot brighter. All right. When I am working on these games too and replacing the incandescent lights, I will always use the number 44 lights also. The number 44 lights are a lot brighter. When I'm doing a back glass or the playfield, generally I will use the number 47s with the LEDs. And what that will do, the 47s are a little bit of a lower amperage, and the little bit of a lower amperage creates less heat. They're a little bit dimmer. The number 44s are brighter and hotter. I'll use the number 44s under the inserts because we always want our inserts to be nice and bright, right? That's the way that the game communicates with us. But for the back glass, if I'm mixing, I'll always use the cooler bulbs and then mix it with LEDs. Well, generally, I guess. It depends on what I have at hand, but I don't even buy 47s anymore. I always use, I just have 44s on hand. I do have gigantic piles of lamps that I do save when I yank bulbs out of games to put LEDs in. If they are not blackened or burned at all, they're still good. So if they still work, I'll put them in a bag, and I have a large sack of working incandescent bulbs. But 111, I don't know what that is, Magic Patrick. Is that a light bulb that I'm not familiar with? And Prost, Daniel. Ta-da. A nice sparkling water for my 95-degree South Carolina afternoon. It's really nasty out there. This tool, I use this tool to get the bulb out. Some bulb pliers. I don't remember what the part number is on our website, but they're wonderful. It's a small plier with a convex head here. You don't know what number you need. For which bulb? Is it a light bulb or what? And they have a rubberized tip, so you can kind of grab onto the light bulb, twist and pull, and the rubber provides enough friction to yank the bulb out. So always keep some of those with you. Yeah, so Worthwhile Panda, I think I've delved into this a few times. Let's talk about for what game you have. Are you talking about replacing LEDs on a Bally game, or? Because there are things that you do need to do to swap bulbs out for feature lights, but never for the general illumination. But we'll talk about that. Let's see, Magic Patrick, yes, your game Slugfest, that is an era of game that used a lot of the 555 bulbs, which are, you would call that a wedge style bulb. They just plug straight into a socket. The other style bulb is a bayonet style bulb. In the top right corner here, they have a round base. They plug into a socket and then they twist. 555s are real common. Generally, even on those games like Slugfest I don't think has a ton of GI, but on a pinball game of the same era, like a 90s Williams, you'll have a lot of these bulbs for general illumination, and then a lot of your feature lights under the playfield will be 555s. No, you're not getting your info crossed at all. Okay, so Worthwhile Panda is talking about replacing some incandescent bulbs with LEDs. So on your Flash Gordon, for your general illumination, right? And general illumination is all the stuff on top of the game, the stuff that lights the plastics and lights the playfield, right? In the industry, that's called general illumination. So that's the stuff that, again, it brightens the playfield up, lightens the artwork. On Flash Gordon, you can totally replace any of the general illumination bulbs with an LED. They're fine. Most bulbs are not polarized now. Most of them are AC/DC. It doesn't matter. Any of those bulbs will be fine. In the back box, absolutely. When it comes to your feature lamps, all of the lamps underneath the playfield, you cannot just swap to an LED. The way that those lamps are driven, the hardware that drives the lamps in the back box, they tend to make those lamps flicker a lot. So there's a few ways of getting around that. There's a really convenient set of boards that are called flicker eliminators. They plug into your lamp board, and then your lamp board harness goes into that board, and it adds a resistor in line to keep them from flickering. You got to remember, the reasons these get hot is because it's a real inefficient way of turning electricity into light. You're heating up a filament white hot so it glows, right? It creates a lot of heat. On an LED, you've got a diode that's very sensitive and just on off, right? When you'll notice, like when you turn on a light bulb, it kind of glows on and then it glows out. That is because in 1976, when they were designing the hardware, this is what existed. It takes a lot more power to get these things to run. With an LED, it barely takes anything before it just turns on. So that's why you'll see residual flickering in the circuit. So there's a few ways to get around it. Some people will wire in resistors on the lamp socket. That's kind of a pain in the butt. We sell a product which is really neat, the Yopsicle LED board. This thing replaces the socket and the light bulb with a board that screws into the play field and replaces both of those items, and it is an LED that works without flickering. Some people will replace their entire lamp driver board, and that sometimes that'll have the capability of using LEDs. So it's a really long discussion, but what I'm going to say, I wouldn't worry about swapping the feature lamps to LEDs. You don't get any benefit from that, other than brighter inserts maybe, but swapping your general illumination is always a good idea. It reduces the current draw, those boards do burn up because of the incandescent bulbs, etc. So I would absolutely recommend it. I finally got my favorite bulbs in stock on our website, the Comet Pinballs warm white frosted dual SMD lights. They're fantastic. That's what I use in everything. They're really bright. They have good color temperature. So anyways, long spiel. Some of that's my opinion, but a lot of it's also fact. In your EM, you can use anything because they're not picky. They just usually have dirty lamp sockets. I'm going to read Transmission Arcade's comment. Hey, stop talking. Y'all are talking too fast. Thank you for your first time chat there. Yes, and thank you for posting the link to that product, 77-BRT. If you don't have one, buy one now. They're really handy. Transmission Arcade asks about Fat 555s, like the Eternal Life in Indy. They are not. So the Fat 555 is actually a bulb called a 906 or a 912. They're flasher bulbs. 906 runs on a 6-volt circuit. 912 is a 12-volt flasher. So those are totally different. If you put a regular bulb in one of those sockets, it will explode immediately. So you want to make sure you use the correct bulb there, but the bases are almost the same, and you feel like you can use one or the other, but they're definitely not interchangeable. Okay, I hope Magic Patrick got what I was saying to him too. That's awesome. No problem. I'm glad I got you too, White Panda. Marco Pinball spamming the chat. We should ban that guy. Borg Dog, Yops work great to replace the bonus slather. Oh yeah, huh? Yeah, so that's a really neat thing, Borg Dog. I was curious, like, if I ever got my Meteor back, like, if I would just create like some crazy matrix of Yopsicles to replace like the bonus lights on Meteor. It might be kind of neat. It also might be really neat to run figure out the spacing of some of those things to make a unique PCB that you can just plug in like one of those crazy, lamp platters that Stern used back in the 80s. Worthwhile Panda, that's fine. Just buy some LEDs, and when you're ready, you can start changing them out. It's and again, you don't really have to worry about it so much with the older games. Flash Gordon doesn't have a lot of GI. You've got a lot of 80s games. Vector, for example, has a ton of GI. Viking doesn't have too much GI. Some games have more than others, and they burn their connectors up really bad. If I'm going to go through all the effort of repairing a damaged connector on your power board, because of the years and years and years of long run times and incandescent bulbs, I'm generally going to swap some out to LEDs at least 50% to reduce that current draw. Got a new message here. There is a part number. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I would recommend, if you were searching our website, I think if you type in Flicker Eliminator, they will come up. So there are 3 different Flicker and Eliminator part numbers we have. We have one that works for just the lamp board, and that'll do most Bally games. And then Bally used 2 auxiliary lamp driver boards for when they ran out of like lamp drivers and stuff like that. And there were 2 unique flicker eliminators for those. But so just make sure you order the right one. What game are you going to install it on? Actually, you know what? I think I have one over here. I was using one for a product shoot. Oh yeah, here, actually, here's the part number right here. The one for the lamp driver board is M is in Mango, B is in Bravo, dash 07 dash 010. They're super simple. They take a reference voltage, which is very easy to do. There's instructions that tell you where to hook up this wire that does go here. But this plugs into your board. Every single output of the lamp driver board goes through a resistor, and then you plug your actual plug into here. So this thing just puts a resistor on every single output, and that gets rid of the flicker. It's really awesome. I replaced all the features with the obstacles in Bally Star Trek. The sockets were crappy. Yeah, they tend to be extra crappy on the old games like that too. So I'm glad you're happy with them. I'm quite happy with them. On my strikes and spares, when I do Dolly Parton one day, I will also definitely be using the Yopsicle all over the place. But at this point, I just carry a couple of them in my toolbox, because if I ever run into a crummy lamp socket like that, you can always just replace one, you know? It's a great tool. But yeah, geez, like the thought of never having to solder in like 60 new lamp sockets makes me so happy. I hope that is a reality one day. Well, there'll just always be a bunch of Yopsicles and never having to fight with Bally lamp sockets again. LEDs are fun. I definitely understand why some people don't like LEDs. But they've also come a long way. So a lot of time when people have a lot of negative things to say or have had a bad experience with LEDs, like LED bulbs of like this variety, this form factor, were really, really the S word like 10 years ago. The color temperatures were never right. The quality was awful. They'd burn out really fast. But now there's a lot of, they're very good. Yeah, the old LED bulbs were crap. All right, we've got another first-time chatter here. Fantastic, thank you for joining us. A few of the classic Sterns have had their sockets replaced with PCBs. Oh, interesting. Okay, I guess I just wasn't aware of that. That's neat. Yeah, so we have more modern ways, like Bally would use big platters, PCB platters with twist-in lamp sockets, and that is how they did a lot of the feature lights on their games. And it makes sense when you have enough room to place a big board onto a playfield and twist a bunch of lights into it for the inserts. That's great. But back in the day, that technology wasn't there 100%. So Stern did some really crazy things where they would make these on Meteor, right? There's a big like metal platter that's live, and then there's a bunch of bulbs riveted into that with a individual lead going to each socket, right? There to light the bulb when necessary. And when those sockets do go bad, they're almost irreparable. It's a pain in the butt. But yeah, the old Bally home games did have twist-in bulbs. You're right. It must have been a cost thing. I mean, at that point, those lamp sockets must have been very cheap. And why reinvent the wheel? Now, that being said, it didn't take long until like the mid-'80s when Bally also started using PCB stuff like that. I think the technology just needed to come along, you know? When everything became electronic, the cost of making printed circuit boards just dropped through the floor, and then everything got a PCB light situation, which is great too. They're a little difficult to repair. They're a little difficult to service sometimes. They frustrate a lot of people, but they're not that hard. How's the Discord without you? It's very lonely without you, but to be honest, I haven't been in the Discord very much either because I've been just so busy, exhausted, and traveling so much. So I'm sorry I've left everyone hanging. Yeah, the home games absolutely were ahead of their time. You're right. LED displays, kind of like an all-in-one PCB solution. they're very interesting. It's just a shame that they're such a pain in the butt to fix sometimes, but it's they're neat. The artwork on like Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy is just great, right? I mean, it's just the album cover, but it's so good. I don't know if anyone here has any home games, but yes, larger PCBs were very cost prohibitive. I've heard the same thing. I talked to an electronics engineer that worked at Williams back in the 70s, and he said that one of the other reasons they used a two-board solution, though, was serviceability. They wanted to be able to have the customer send out one or the other, or both, and be able to replace them both. Now, that being said, that mentality went straight out the window somewhere, because then we got System 9 and 11, which were just giant pains in the butt. They're so big, which is fine, and it's nice that everything is all on one board, but it makes them a lot more difficult to troubleshoot, especially when you have like 2 or 3 computers on one board. It is kind of a strange thing, but yeah, I think there are benefits in both camps. Hello, Fliptronic. How are you? Nice to see your nice name here. It's actually nice to kind of be on the internet. Oh wait, hold on. Kyle's gone. And Jack Danger is here. Hey, internet, how's it going? No, I'm just kidding. But I do have Jack Danger's hat, or I have one of his hats. Welcome to the internet. It feels good to be here. Oh, Pez Johnson's here too. Everyone's here, right? All at the same time. I think at the same time, like when Williams did go to their single board solution, also like gigantic PCBs they were not cost prohibitive at that time. Yeah, flippers and butts. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It is neat to see. And then seeing like how Williams also changed their philosophy and design for like WPC. And WPC was like the best and the worst of everything they had done the past 20 years. I mean, at least like the computer's separate from also the high voltage, right? So, okay, we've got the computer here, high voltage stuff is here, they don't exist on the same area. But then you have the damn driver board, which is just insane. It's huge and has so much going on. You could probably separate some of those things, but I don't know. I guess it becomes more cost effective to use less boards, even though some of them are huge. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I just speculate these things. We're in the Q&A zone. I don't feel like standing up anymore. So, Pinball Rob 60 just bought a Roadshow with a 5-volt reset problem, and you bought the reset board. That's good. I think that the reset board is a great thing. I have seen some instances where real prolonged use of them, like in a commercial environment, I have seen them fail. In your home, it's going to be just fine. It gives you a fun proposition though, because now with that reset board, it also gives you the ability to try to get in and figure out where the problems for your reset are coming from while you can still play the game. Call in with your shadow problems. I'd love to get you on the Zoom call, but Emoto's not here. Is this a problem that needs to be voiced, or?
We can put them on the Zoom.
Does anyone have advice about getting the starting components for a homebrew project?
Honestly, I am not the best person to ask this because I am not ingrained in the homebrew community. But what I'm going to say is you definitely need a cabinet, right? Every pinball game totally needs a cabinet. I would probably start there. You probably don't even need to find a cheap game to cannibalize. There are plenty of games people have cannibalized and have nothing to do with the cabinets. Reaching out to your local pinball community might be it might be easier than you think to find a cabinet. Now, you do need to figure out what cabinet you're going to use, though. If you're going to make a very simple single-level game or something like that, it might be quite easy to use like an old Bally cabinet or something like that where you don't have that depth. But if you were going to be doing a game that had ramps or something like that, you're going to want to consider getting a more modern cabinet, right, where there is more distance between the play field and the glass. That's something to think about. How can you get blanks for the playfield? I don't know. I think a lot of people that do homebrew stuff, there's many revisions before they even go to a blank. I know a lot of people do like foam core sorts of like carvings, and then I know some people that just do it on plywood, etc. So that's another thing to consider. But I think at the end of the day, when you actually build the game and you're done with revisions, you can get yourself a nice piece of hardwood and get that done. But I don't know. I'd start getting into some of the homebrew community stuff because all these guys have answered these questions for years. Person to ask, but I'll be there with you soon. I've got my ideas written down, and I finally got some theming and modes for the layout that I've kind of been working on. So Kyle might be building his own pinball machine soon. We have another first-time chatter. Reset board, but you still need to repin the power connector into the driver board. Yeah, there can be many reasons why the thing is going to reset, but definitely some toasty AC in connections can exacerbate that problem. So you definitely go in and inspect all of your power connectors on that roadshow, and you might find that one toasty header could be causing all of it. You never know. Formula One themed. No, unfortunately not. That would be awesome, though. I would get sued into oblivion, I'm sure. But I mean, there already is a perfect Formula One themed game called Grand Prix that none of us are lucky enough to ever get. Will you be watching the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend? I know there are people that sell like flat pack do-it-yourself cabinets. I think like for WPC dimensions. A WPC cabinet is kind of overkill. They have very complicated rails, for the playfield service position and stuff like that. But those mechanisms are also widely distributed and they're easy to use. But, also at the same time, they're heavy and clunky. And these new Stern games do not need that stuff, and they work great. So, man, you think it's going to be a Red Bull 1-2? I mean, I also expect a Red Bull 1-2, but I also now we see that Aston Martin has copied the Red Bull car. It's going to be Lance Stroll number 1, Sebastian Vettel number 2, and who knows? Bottas 3. That's what it's going to be. Yeah, someone does sell the flat pack classic Stern cabs. They're gorgeous. They're insanely nice, really well built. I've been talking to that guy, and I'd love to sell them on our website. They're expensive and heavy to ship, but been laying something out in VPX for 2 years. Oh, that's awesome. I would really recommend trying to find, talk to the homebrew guys and girls and get in with some of them. They're really, really, really talented people that want to share their, passion and creativity of helping other people build their own pinball machines. They're very loose with their knowledge. It's awesome. I wish I could understand what they're saying a lot of the time, but, Now there's also so many like operating systems, or not operating systems, but like hardware that games can run on also. P-Rock is still great, but there are so many choices. Any thoughts about a pinball visor that starts to open, hangs, then opens, starts to close again, hangs, and repeats until it finally finishes the cycle? I'll be honest, I don't remember how the Pinbot visor works. I think it's just a motor mounted parallel with the actual visor, and then there is an arm, and then it works on a rotating cam. So when it rotates 180 degrees, it's in the up position, and then when it rotates another 180 degrees, it's down, right? So if there's just one linkage that lifts it up and down and it doesn't scissor, is it getting stuck on anything? Uh-oh, Emoto's back. Oh, shoot. Oh, man, friend of the show, Bat Outta Hell by Meatloaf, is now on the screen. It happened. How are you?
I should probably turn the I can't see you, so well, oh man, there I am. I'm doing okay. It was like one of those like radio problems where I was like speaking to and also hearing you on the TV. Here, hold on, let me get this all set up.
Oh, check this out. All right, we're gonna try to help Bat Outta Hell by Meatloaf fix his game on camera.
I can't believe I'm here.
I can't either.
Sorry, I should have had this all set up beforehand. Now you get to see my bizarre kitchen and arcade that I live in.
I mean, that sounds ideal to me.
Giving everyone absolute vertigo for life. All right, so here's the issue we're having with Shadow. Is when I should probably just take this out. So I have a feeling that this game is some sort of like prototype or sample, because there are so many mechanical differences on this game that are really wild. Mainly the one that we're struggling with right now is that the way that the optos are supposed to poke through the like for the magnet to grab it.
Yeah.
Those are supposed to be slots that go all the way down to like the bottom of the playfield. But for whatever reason, the Shadow I have just has like these holes instead.
Okay.
So in order to properly adjust the magnet so that the strength is where it should be, we get an issue where the ball runs so fast through the optos, and the optos aren't perfectly aligned on that in that hole that they're supposed to be poked through, that it just can't capture the ball. It'll just go flying through. It will do the lock sequence perfect.
Uh-oh, he hung up on us. Haha, or we hung up on him. See ya. Okay, let's think about his problem right now while we try to get him back on. Thank you for subscribing, Vernicious. Yes, coffee addicts, we have problems. I'm also thinking that your problem could be something goofy with the motor. Take the motor out and run it on hand. Maybe, do you have a desk power supply? You might be able to run it and feel what it's doing. But gosh, yeah, that's weird. But I think that mechanism is pretty simple. If it's not getting caught up on the actual, up down the linkage, I would assume that it was that might be the motor. Yeah, he fixed his problem right when he asked. No, let's
Sorry, I lost you there.
No, it's okay.
I don't know what happened. I think my phone thought I was trying to make an emergency call.
Oh.
But yeah, that's the issue I'm rolling into. I can't seem to figure out what's going on.
So,
Kyle, do you have any wisdom for me?
Yeah, I have some wisdom, but it's all going to be stuff you don't want to hear.
Sure.
Get rid of it. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to do... What I would say is you need to get in there and really check all of those optos. Like, you need to check both of those optos, but you need to check them... I mean, gosh, you think that they're out of line? So, can you sit there and, like, switch test or something, or throw the ball up there and see how often the optos actually pick the ball up?
Yes, I can. Let me go...
Can you yank the glass off?
Yeah, I'm trying to find a key for it because I have it. It's going out on location soon, and it's got like my fancy high security lock on it already. Give me 1 second.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to figure out, and I think
he was totally not prepared to get a random Zoom invite from me.
I mean, I also was not prepared for him to actually take me up on it, and now it's hilarious.
This is awesome, though. We should make this an ongoing segment.
Yeah, I apologize that I wasn't. I'm a little disappointed because I wish I had been more prepared, and then I could have.
No, this is
I
great.
could
This
have
is
shown
real
off all of
world
my
right here.
fancy camera gear.
Really
PinTech
quick,
Super Live.
Oh,
Yeah, we come to your house now.
I do
So
want to
let's,
let me mention someone in chat really quick. Steve, I do remember you. It was nice to meet you in person again, and thank you for coming to the show. All right. So,
All right, so
can we
do you
confirm
want me to,
here?
Do you want me to go into switch test now, or do you want me to show you the issue?
Well, let's look at it in switch test first. But like, there are no other switches that it hits, right? When you have the sanctum lit, the only thing that causes the sanctum to do its dance is that opto, correct?
Well, it's a series of optos. However, the first step is the magnet catching the ball.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, so the series goes, the ball will travel through, it will activate it. Let me get the sound on so we can all laugh at it. So the process is that the ball travels through the inner sanctum opto, the magnet activates, the computer tells the single drop target to drop. There's a computer controlled piston that allows the drop target to drop.
Yeah.
And then a switch that shows that the single drop target that looks like the wall is down will allow the magnet to go through its funny release and
The whip.
release and throw mechanism.
Yeah.
Usually the issue is that the switch that shows that the wall is down is out of adjustment, and people have an issue where the ball won't throw it in because it will instead just complete the sequence without doing the little turn the magnet off and turn it back on again issue.
Gotcha.
So when this sanctum switch goes, so the ball goes through here, the opto fires, and then the ball will hold. There's nothing else that starts that magnet sequence other than that opto closing.
Okay, and that switch is
And
called.
the thing is that the magnet sequence fires perfectly. The magnet goes through its sequence where it grabs the ball, or it activates, drops the target, and then throws it. But the issue is that the ball just isn't being grabbed by the magnet the first time. And my theory is that for whatever reason, when the ball travels through here at a high speed, the optos aren't picking up on it quick enough for the magnet to activate.
The opto should the opto. I wouldn't think the opto would be the problem. So there's two things. The optos are really fast, right? The switch
Sure.
matrix is pretty quick. That doesn't mean that the switch matrix can't keep up with an extraordinarily fast moving ball, but I don't know if that's what I'd place my first bet on. So
Okay.
I do see Jacob in chat is saying confirm that the magnet is working. We do know that the magnet works because it will catch it. I mean, what sometimes, barely, most of the time. How often, like, are we actually getting a successful, animation here?
So watch, if I just kind of talk, there's actually a magnet test where it can go through its sequence,
Yeah.
and then it throws it in. If I have it just coming from a straight shot like this, okay. Now the problem is I actually have to recreate the issue in front of you.
No, it's hard though. That's
Boom, right there. That should have grabbed it.
okay.
And
So
it still goes through the sequence of grabbing it and throwing it, but the ball is just moving so fast that it doesn't even get caught the first time.
so
When
which
it bounces
switch?
off of anything, like even slightly glances a guide or a target, that slows the ball down just enough that it catches. But if it's a straight nothing but net shot, it just goes flying through it.
So do we have? Can you confirm? Can you hit that shot and watch the DMD to see if the opto is closing every time? Like which which actual like indicator on the screen right now is showing the switch closure?
Well, when the switch closes, it says magnet power on. Let's see. It'll say magnet power on opto switch, and then it will show when the magnet power is on doing its cycle, and it will also show if the opto is opened or closed. When the ball just flies through it, the opto opens and closes very quickly.
So
and then the magnet goes through its thing. So it's activating it properly.
So there's two things. I mean, there's only two things that I can think of like in this scenario, and this doesn't mean I'm right, but the two things that I can think of here are either the opto is not closing, like, it's not actually sensing that the ball is there, and it can't catch the ball something. What I'm thinking more so is that the magnet is not strong enough to catch the ball. I do also see there are some people here in the chat that are saying similar things, but I would be really curious, like, if you were to go check the actual magnet, there's probably a board underneath by the magnet, right, that powers the board, or do you know, or, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Is there a board underneath the game that actually powers the magnet, or is it a standard drive on the big board?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know that.
Well, let's take a look. If you want to open it up, let's take a look, but...
Yeah, I also have the schematic handy if we want to get to that, too.
I'm kind of agreeing with Jacob and this other fella in chat here, saying that I can imagine a scenario where you have a bad connector that is not bringing enough consistent power to the magnet, or transistor that's failing. That's what Jacob says.
We're gonna go handheld for a second.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's take a look. It's been a while since I've been inside of a shadow.
Okay. So here is. Let me also see if I can get some more light in here.
Well, do you see a board? I see the magnet. I see where the connector is. Does that run to a board that has maybe one big transistor on it or something like that, or?
Should be a yellow, green, and red and gray wire, I guess. Let's see if this goes. I'm not seeing any associated board. Oh, here we go.
Is that?
This could be it. Yeah.
Does anyone in the chat that knows this game, do they have anything to add to this, or maybe can find the schematic?
Let me get a light in here. This will be extraordinarily helpful. We get a little light in here. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is I feel like all of these strange little boards are always they're always my first thing to suspect, but they're also they seem like to be some of the hardest things to replace. So I'm always very skeptical of, oh boy, did I turn my camera off?
You turned your camera off. Yeah, okay. I mean, I wouldn't suspect the board. I wouldn't necessarily say the board's bad, but I would definitely say it might be worth replacing the driver. I don't think that's not a driver board.
No, I don't think so either. Let's see. The magnet goes right here. This wiring goes this way. No, I mean, it looks like that goes directly into the main loom and goes directly to the board.
That's very possible. So maybe it would be best to bust open the manual really quick and see what and where that magnet is driven by. This is the shadow, where we're trying to figure out why the shadow's magnet is not consistently grabbing the ball.
Let's go.
All right, this is fun.
My very, very pretty haunted house. Now let's take a look. So let's see. It's probably, in this special components section of the manual.
Okay, Jacob says that the magnet is driven off of Q2, so that is definitely on the main board. If you go towards the end of the manual, I think there's kind of like a wiring layout, and it will show you kind of like what drives what.
Really, I didn't think.
Or sometimes, I mean, Jacob
here
might
we
have.
are, yeah. No, I see. Yeah. Let's see.
I think it's that.
Let's see. Solenoid wiring. Yep. Let's see. Oh, interesting. This seems to say that the single drop down and the magnet are controlled off the Fliptronic board.
Interesting.
Would that be true?
Um,
I mean, that is kind of what that says, correct?
let me get closer to the TV because I can't see.
If it's too grainy, but yeah, this looks like it's saying that the magnet is driven off of the Fliptronic board. There's Fliptronic 2.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Red and gray.
Well, okay, so
and then the yellow gray, which is those are the two colors that I was misreading off of.
So okay, so this is that does make sense. I would also say, so Ice-Ski-Doo's comment here actually does come in useful, right? So you know how they wire the power to a lot of these things, right? They're kind of what we'll call it daisy chained.
Yeah.
Right. So if let's say, for example, this is maybe something to check. If the single drop target is wired in first and then it goes to the magnet, which it looks like it might be. If there's a really bummer connection,
the magnet is first and then it goes to the single drop.
Well, but it looked like there was a single wire coming out of that harness. So I wouldn't discern that just from the magnet right off the bat. But if there are two wires going, if there are two 50-volt wires, whatever color it says, going to the single drop, and then one goes off to the magnet, then we know that this could be a possibility. Let's make sure that we have a good connection there, right? Make sure it's not holding on by like one strand of wire. Also, Ice-Ski-Doo brings in the next thing I was going to say about making sure that the connectors are also very snug, right? Make sure that the magnet is actually plugged in correctly. Verify that there is 50 volts at the magnet. There should be, because it's working off the same 50 volts that the flippers work off of, so that does make sense.
So you're saying check all of the connections to make sure that there's nothing on both the single drop and the
so let's look
single drop and the oh, you know what it is actually too? It's the single drop that they're referencing is not, well, hold on. I'm not sure if it's the single drop. Oh, single drop down. So that is this piston that I think the single drop down would be the control solenoid for this drop target tank, correct?
That makes most sense to me. But you can verify this. If you go back into the manual, you can verify by looking at the wire color that is carrying that 50 volts. So it looks like red-gray carries the 50 volts. So when you look at that, try to find the red-gray on that solenoid for the single drop target and see if it's doubled up.
See, that's the thing that's a little funky. I mean, I guess in theory this is red-gray. Maybe over the years this is what this has come to look like. Yeah. But on the other side of that single drop, it says orange gray, which I guess in theory this brown wire could be considered orange gray. But that doesn't seem to be like the correct color connection.
The one thing you could do is you could verify that it is, just check for 50 volts there at the solder tab, but definitely check the wire at the solder tab that is red, gray, red, brown, whatever it is. Are there two of them? You can set the camera down if you need to do this without a camera in your hand. That's fine.
Say that again?
I said you can put the camera down if it makes it easier for you.
I don't want to, I also don't want to I feel like I'm the first person to criticize, like, the camera works shaky, it's making everyone sick, and then here I am being, the person. So I guess the thing that's funny to me is that, again, there are no. I guess it really depends on just how loose you are with your definitions of colors on this. With a game that's as horrendously dirty as this one, I'm tempted to say that brown could be an orange, but I also know that there's a lot of okay, no, you know what? It's actually not that, because I look at the schematic and there's a single drop down and a wall target down. And I know the wall target down is the sanctum switch.
Oh, okay.
So the single target is the battlefield, like the drop target that protects you from going into the battlefield.
Got it.
That's the down switch that they're talking about there. Boy, this is truly a pain to get to.
Huh. Well, I'm gonna say I think you have a few things to check off now. So I can go over. I think the plan of attack you should go for is like the basic thing. Like, let's verify that you have good 50 volts at the magnet, right, on that red, brown, red, gray, whatever color wire.
At the magnet.
So make sure that you have a good continuity. From the first or the second bit of that daisy chain, right? Like if it daisy chains at the first drop target, that has 50 volts, but the magnet has 40. Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's not how it would work, but you just want to make sure you have
Kyle,
what?
Why don't you tell me what's the proper way to test 50 volts on a coil?
So stick that black lead into the ground strap on the side of the cabinet somewhere.
Ground strap on the side of the cabinet. Look at that.
That makes it easy. And then now find that red and gray or red and brown wire and stick the red probe on that tab of the coil. And what do you got?
Well, since it's a magnet, and I can't really, there's no tab on the coil I can really reach, should I unplug this Molex connector and stick the...
I would...
there's no open wire on that magnet that I can reach.
Yeah, for sure. Try it on the single drop target first.
Well, what's funny to me too is that the single drop target that's in question is also not the right wire color.
Huh.
It seems also not red-gray.
Well, it seems weird that they would use 50 volts to power that, though. I understand why they're using the 50-volt draw from the Fliptronic board to run the magnet, because there's a really strong set of transistors there to run a magnet that stays on for an extended period of time, but I don't understand the other one. I might need to jump in the manual with you, but okay, so for the magnet, you can either try sticking the red probe inside the Molex connector, like where the wire comes in, because the long metal tube it's actually quite long, or you can unplug the magnet and just make sure you try to touch the red one to the power side connector on the Molex connector, if that makes sense.
So I'm just not getting. Maybe it's possible that I'm not. The ground strap isn't enough. I'm not getting nearly any voltage here. I'm getting like 250 millivolts.
Is it an auto ranging meter?
It is.
So the game is on, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what it is? Point door's open.
There you
Disabling
go.
the 50 volts.
Okay, so be careful now, right? You don't want to short things, but
Sure. So we have black tab in with the black tab in the on the ground strap.
Yep.
I'm gonna move my body off of these rails because why not? So now let's poke this into right there. Let's see, I'm getting 69 volts.
it's a lot of volts.
That's a lot of volts.
Nice.
You can kill me, right?
Oh, sorry, I missed my chance to say nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Let me try on the single drop and see if that's also 69 over there.
So here's the thing, though, is we know we have voltage, and that's fine. But if we don't have enough current, that can also that'll cause this to do something like that too. So that's why I was trying to think, like, if you were to look and figure out where that power goes first, that might be a good way to double check these things, you know?
Yeah. So according to the manual, the power goes directly off the Fliptronics board, 50 volts off of it, and it runs from the Fliptronic board to directly the magnet and the single drop. Magnet first, single drop second.
Okay, you know what?
I get the same amount of volts. So you're saying where it goes before it hits the Fliptronic board?
Where it hits the magnet, like if the magnet was the last thing in line, right? Because everything's wired in serial. So I would actually do this because someone here says, Jacob says single drop down is listed as low power. There might be a typo. So let's do this instead. I think if you open the front of the manual, it's going to give you a solenoid chart as well. Do you see that? Like, it's going to be a chart that says, like, you know, Fliptronic board, or like, you know, Slingshot is a 261200 and it's driven off of this. It might literally be like the first page or two.
Oh, yeah. Yep, we're seeing it. Solenoid and flasher table.
Okay, so find the magnet for me, and what does it say?
Magnet says high power J907, 8 and 9.
Okay. Now, can you find anything else that connects at J907? That the 907 is going to, the 900 series is the Fliptronic board.
The only other thing is that single drop down, which also, Jacob is correct, it does list low power.
It's listed as low power, but it's driven off the Fliptronic board.
Yeah.
What the F? Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a tiny coil. So that, I mean, I can see some logic behind that, but it doesn't. It seems really odd to me as well.
Have you?
There are two different drive transistors, though. So
yeah, for the magnet, you're going to have a pre-driver and a main driver, so it's going to use one of those big TIP 36Cs, and it's also going to use one of the a TIP 102 as a pre-driver. Pin guy, thanks for coming, and see you around.
Yeah. Also, I apologize if this isn't the most thrilling experience for the viewers.
No, this is fun because it makes my brain frustrated that I'm not there and I can't just poke things with you. But
sure.
I can give you a list of things that I'd say to do as homework, and you can call me while I'm driving home. I could talk to you about some of these things as well. But things to inspect: Fliptronic board. Find that plug where it's coming out from. Make sure it doesn't look burnt. Make sure the wire is in there fine. Make sure that nothing is weird. If it's an IDC connector and like that wire is kind of wiggling its way out, I mean, there you go. That could be a problem. Try to figure out. I can't believe. So wait, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Did you say you did measure at the single drop target and you were getting 69 volts?
Yeah. Same with the magnet. And again, it could be just a bizarre reading from the meter. I could try measuring it against something else. You know, I could try measuring it against the flipper and see if.
Well, the flipper would have the same 69 volts, but I would try. Try doing the same thing, but hooking it up to a slingshot, or like isn't there a saucer on the Shadow?
There's a bunch of saucers, yeah.
Yeah, try hooking it up to
those should all be running off the same voltage.
Well, they should be running off of a lower voltage, but I'm just curious. It's also been a while since I've fiddled around with a WPC game, so.
So, and again, this is kind of why I'm not trusting my. Oh shit. Sorry, my apologies on the language.
That's okay. You can say it. I can't.
I forgot that we were still in the. If you're in a test mode and you stay in it for too long, it'll just exit out of the menu just in case you're a buffoon. So I'm like kind of concerned, and I'm wondering if maybe I'm just getting like a weird meter reading. But even on like a saucer. Well, okay. Close the coin door. Make sure you don't get shocked. even on like the saucers, like for example, this is the kicker for the mode start. The mode start saucer hole kicker is running at 75 volts.
Can you try zapping a slingshot for me too?
75 volts.
Try.
So either something's totally heinous with this meter, or we're like way off on a bunch of things.
Just to double check, you are measuring in DC mode, right?
DC mode. It isn't auto ranging. I could try measuring. I have like an external. So this game came with an external Suzo hat power supply.
I saw that
because it was reset. There was a low 5 volts. So there's 5 volts running directly to the CPU. I could try taking a measurement off that to see if that's a nice consistent 5, and then that would tell us if my meter's just screwed up. But
it's generally not the meter. But if you wanted to stick your probe back there and see if you are getting 5, I'd be curious.
Yeah, I'm getting exactly 5 volts off of this external power supply.
Okay, no, something in my brain is trying to wiggle its way out, but I remember there is something about the Williams games having their power always reads really high. Like I kind of wish you could get it into a game.
What do you mean by get into a game?
Like start a game and then measure the power, but I think I'm running down look, at this point it doesn't matter. You have voltage at the magnet and the magnet works.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you know what? There's also another correctism here. You are measuring it off of a different reference ground than the rest of those coils would be measured at. But I think what we've got here, though, is we've proven that there's voltage there, and what we need to do is we need to figure out if it's a current issue or if it's a opto problem. If we ruled out that it was
pretty convinced it's not a problem with the optos not catching.
I don't think so, because the fact that it catches it all, to me, says that it is going to work. The optos can see the ball coming in. I would say to test that, you need to get in there and run the ball up there a bunch and just make sure that switch is always closing or being activated when the ball passes it.
Well, I guess like the thing that's puzzling me is that when I do this said launching the ball quote unquote too fast, let's just assume my theory is correct. The magnet goes through again. It goes through its paces entirely. It does the whole lock show.
But what the problem is,
for whatever reason, it's just that it's the first instant. It's the first instance of the magnet not grabbing it that isn't activating properly.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What I'm gonna say is that I think I still think that it's a weak magnet problem, because, like you're saying, the magnet is going and it's doing its thing. So if the opto is good, right, which we kind of have proven it's good, right? Even when you hit it too fast and it doesn't catch, the opto still is telling the game, hey, you're supposed to do this thing, now do it. The problem seems to be the magnet. So what I'm gonna tell you to do is I'm gonna tell you to go take a look at the Fliptronic board. Look at that connector, right, where the power and the signal and everything come for that magnet board, and check that out. I think that is also, that's a problem that the Shadow has, and I've seen this before, but the problem has been a lot more pronounced because things have been blown up. But this was a long time ago. But the ball is moving across that fast and hard, and the magnet needs a lot of oomph to catch it. You know what I mean? This is also an old game. So I'm going to say that the problem exists between the board and the magnet. Maybe the magnet is starting to go bad, but I doubt it, because you'd probably be popping fuses. So what I'm going to tell you to do is probably yank off the Fliptronic board, check that connector that is listed in the manual, and also make sure that everything looks okay on that board.
Sure.
I think that's a pretty logical place to start, without doing a bunch of crazy nasty. But yeah, I mean, people are also kind of chiming in here saying similar things. Ice-Ski-Doo says weak magnet is likely because the weight of the ball is too heavy for it to stop.
I guess just the thing about that, though, is that I struggle to see a direct correlate because when I just toss the ball in with my hand, when we're not doing, when we are not in game playing, it's rolling crazy fast. There's oomph to that magnet. Like it holds it in a pretty intense way.
Yeah, but
that's why I have a hard time connecting in my mind strength of the magnet with speed of the ball.
Yeah, I'm not a physicist or an engineer, but just, I mean, you've probably experienced it too. Like when you play a game with MagnaSave, right? If the ball is just, kind of on its way over to the right side and you nail that MagnaSave button, it quickly centers the ball and holds it there. Where if you're jamming on Black Knight and the ball's flying and you nail it, and then the ball tries to get caught by the magnet, but it's not strong enough and it slings itself out the out lane. It's like, yeah, it's inertia. That's what it is.
Sure.
I mean, that could be a possibility. And since I'm not there with the game, that's kind of what I'm going to go with. I think the Opto's fine. You've got other people saying to test the resistance of the coil.
Which I have. The magnet coil comes out to 5 ohms exactly, which seems in spec.
That is in spec? Okay.
I think the other thing that a lot of people mention is that, there is the magnet core is adjustable. So like from my understanding of how this magnet works,
that is also true.
Magnet, and then there's a threaded core, this massive, 3/4 threaded core that goes through it. And you can adjust the strength of it by moving it closer or farther from the playfield.
You can. So Shadow, unfortunately, has a unique bit, right, where the magnet core doesn't actually penetrate the entire playfield, right? It only goes through about halfway.
Exactly.
You know what? You could also start there. I think you've got 3 things. Inspect the Fliptronic board. Make sure that you don't see any visibly worn, a cold solder joint. You don't have any nasty burnt connectors. You won't be able to see a degraded transistor, but that's also probably not the problem. Inspect that. That's quick and easy. Second thing to do would definitely be to try raising that magnet core. That's pretty funny. If you bring,
it's like I have it pressed all the way against the wood, and it's still not catching. And I've also heard that that's bad because that will start burning through the paint on the playfield.
It definitely can. It also. Oh yeah, and also Ice-Q and Jacob say to definitely reflow the solder on the Fliptronic board to that. When you take it out, just reflow the solder on every pin. You have it out, just do it. And then the way to prove that point, maybe that the problem could be a current problem, would be to get a heavy-duty jumper wire and run power from the or run the signal from the Fliptronic board down to the magnet and just run it that way. And if it starts working immediately, then you know that you've got a problem somewhere else. I have a feeling that when you take the Fliptronic board off and reflow those pins, you might find that the problem could be solved. Maybe not.
Gotcha.
But remember, it's like this is a really fun problem. I wish I was up there to help you fix it, but it's remember Occam's razor. Like, the simplest solution can sometimes be the actual, or is usually the solution to a complex problem. And you might find that you have a real shitty, you have a really crummy connector or connection, and that's probably going to do it.
No, stop cussing.
Sorry. I'm also going to go home.
Mr. Loaf is allowed to cuss.
When I get home, I'm going to study the schematic, and I'm going to see if I can help you, give you like pinpoints. But if yanking out the Fliptronic board, you might find that you've solved your problem. So.
Sounds good. Yeah, I do know the Fliptronic board looks a little toasty.
Really?
Or no, the DMD driver is a little toasty.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I've looked at the Fliptronic.
Well, wait, you don't have any other WPC games at home, right?
I don't.
Do you have any friends close by that have another WPC game?
Possibly, but I am on day 1 of having the coronavirus. So I will not be.
I'm sorry to hear.
After a long run of not catching. So,
sorry to hear that.
It's
Hope
okay.
it's not too bad.
No, it's good. I had a lot of plans this weekend and I had to cancel all of them, so that's the sad part. But no, I'm fine elsewise. It's just so yeah, I will have access. I could get another WPC board soon. But I don't have one right on hand right now. But,
yeah, for sure. Well, go see if you can solve the problem by using basically free solder and a little bit of heat, and see if that helps. Look at those pins to see if they're discolored or they're worn at all. If the plating has been worn off, and inspect that connector and make sure that the connector, all the connectors in question are also okay.
Okay.
If you swapped in another Fliptronic board and suddenly it all works, then you know that the problem is absolutely localized in the Fliptronic board.
Okay.
Right? You know what I mean?
I guess so, yeah.
That takes everything else out of the equation. If you swap boards and it fixes the problem, then you know that the problem is because of your board.
Sure.
But I also don't think it's worn out enough to do that. I'm curious. This is a fun one, so we'll definitely have to check in with you next week as well. But also, don't hesitate to text and call me about this because I want to help you. So.
Yeah, maybe next week I could get a much I could get a much nicer camera setup for you all as well. We could really do it.
Really do it big.
But all right, guys, thank you for all the help. I appreciate it. This is a problem that I've been banging my head against for a while just by myself. So it's nice to have someone else bang their head against it with me. So
I'm glad. Yeah, I learned something and saw that that the fact that it's being driven off the Fliptronic board makes a lot of sense to me. It's also very weird, but
Sure.
I'm still hedging my bets that problem exists on that board. So, and also,
Sure.
hey, that big light board is the only red board in the game.
Isn't that funny?
Huh.
It's that red. And so there's a bunch of things that are odd. Like there's that red light board. I have brought it back up to like factory spec, but all of the mechanisms on this single drop were different. It was a different switch plate. It was a different switch altogether. When I got the game, there was a bunch of like very funny like test notes, like how it was earning in November of 1994. There's like a bunch of notes that say like earnings, good, shitty, and then it just like it dropped off from there. But it so I would love to know the history on this game, but I know almost nothing about it. I didn't even pick this game up. A very good friend of mine happily brokered the deal for me. So I didn't get any info on where it lived prior, how they got it, which is kind of my favorite part about buying pinball machines. As with like any gear, on all the musical gear I used to buy, I used to ask all of its history before it got to me so I could know, just because I'm a geek. But I feel like that could maybe like solve, even the, there was a bunch of extraneous stuff. There was a bunch of extraneous stuff on the magnet when I first made it, or when I first got it together. So, hey guys, I gotta run. My girlfriend is very kindly visiting the store for me, and she's asking me questions about what kind of bread I want. So
that's very nice of her.
I should probably sign off.
You want some pumpernickel, and also. Thanks for coming on. This was fun, and I hope you solve your problem. And don't hesitate to call me if you need help. So,
sounds good. All right, everybody.
Take it
Thank
easy.
you. Peace.
All right. Well, wasn't that fun? Now we've just got Emoto's head, and she's not even here and stuff. So, all right. Look, we tried to fix something for somebody, and that's kind of interesting, and I hope that he can fix it. I agree with all of you, though, that it's probably on the Fliptronic board. With voltage measurements like that, we knew that there was voltage there, but I was curious what it was. I think I got caught up a little bit on the actual voltage, which really doesn't matter. I don't know why that flipped me out, but yeah, it's an unregulated voltage, so it's not a big deal. Anywho, okay, Emoto's abandoned me because we've gone way over. I don't even know how many people are here, if anyone's even here. But hopefully y'all learned something. Thanks for putting up for my massive lack of energy. I'm very tired. But we did a little bit of work. This game is going to see itself completed soon. So I'm excited to get it done. Oh, Emoto got kicked out. She just banned herself. Thanks for coming in and letting us help you Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf. Pinball Rob, thank you for thanking me. And thanks to all of you for letting us do this with y'all every week. It's really fun. Sorry again that I was just exhausted this week. So we'll, hey, thank you. We'll do some more next week, and hopefully all of our camera equipment will show back up from California, and I'll be able to have the real setup, and we'll continue streaming. Maybe when Emoto is in Washington without me, we can do another good fix-it stream. Maybe finish this thing up. It's going to come down to a point where it's all just basic cosmetics, and a lot of that stuff is just going to be done off camera. So, anywho, yeah, thanks y'all, and we'll see you around these parts next time. All right, here, let me beat Jack Danger. Good night, Internet. Oh, wait. Hold on. No, we raid people. Here, I'm turning this mic around. We gotta raid somebody. Whew. Let's see who's on Twitch. Let's see. Let me go to twitch.tv, and then I'm gonna mute that so it doesn't make noise. Oh, I know who we're raiding. Gosh, this is easy. Actually, hey, Emoto, are you here? Can I type the raid thing into the chat box on the side? That does not make sense at all, does it? Can I watch my own stream? Yeah, I can do it from here. Okay, so /raid. Oh yeah, we're raiding Manu. You know he's choosing Manu. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for your great insight every time and making sure that I don't say the wrong thing. So thank you, everybody. And with that, I'm making sure that I typed the letters MPT, 3 and K correctly. And for all of us that are on Twitch, we are out of here. So thank you, everybody. Again, y'all rule. And see you guys next week. Goodbye.